This is IBM Museum. In this video, we have another unboxing, and this is a factory shrink-wrapped Intel Aboveboard 2 Plus. And I'm interested in the contents of this, just even to compare the board to the other Intel marked microchannel boards I have out. And I'll try and timestamp this, and after I go through the unboxing, bring those adapters across and kind of describe them a little bit as well. I'm going to go through, and of course I'm going to, the bigger process, I've photographed the boards that I've identified as the Aboveboard 2 Plus in the past. I do have the high-res photos of them already, but I can go through and scan the manuals and image that diskette that's included in this package as well. That may match up to what we already have online, but we'll just go to see. There is a little bit of confusion with these adapters just for the adapter IDs, or what's called the POS ID that they give, and they can even have a whole different an ADF that even looks like it's from another company that will still work to set up these adapters. And so without further ado, let's get started. I'll get my knife open, and I'm just going to use my little basic knife here. I'm not going to pull out my big knife. And this is this package is as you can see, it is squashed. I'm not really worried for all that, for just the basics of this. I know how Intel packages these adapters inside, so that doesn't really worry me as much. But this is the original shrink wrap, and it's, as we can see there, it's identified as the Aboveboard 2 Plus 0 KB version, meaning that there's not going to be any memory boards or SIMs in there that are going to be on it. And for the IBM PS2 Model 50 and 60, expandable to 8 megabytes or MBytes using 1 MByte SIMs. And gives even, we've got a date there of March the 16th, 1989. And they've got a picture of that. I'm going to try and get to where it doesn't give as much of my ring light lighting up that. Even have the ceiling lights that are the LEDs that are giving a little bit of an issue as well. And it's concentrate on your work, not on your computer. I don't know if I need to go through and read any of this other stuff. Beyond 1 megabyte, the details, and the Intel guarantee. And I don't know, these numbers are probably, I know for a fact they probably don't have the bulletin board system up still. And so let's see how this thing looks inside. And I'm hoping that there's not too much of a lag from my camcorder capture. Boy, this is okay. And since it's squashed, it's having a harder time coming out of the box. There it is. We'll put the side box. I just cut the end. I've left that shrink wrap still in place on the outside, so I could slip everything back together if I needed to. And this is still sealed, and I'll go through and I'll scan this good sized manual, and then and this looks like, this almost feels like a little bit like a sand, and I don't know how that got through. Sometimes you'll find places that will re-shrink wrap these. I'm relatively certain with the way that fits on this that's not the case here, and with everything even on the inside still, the manual's still bound up. I don't think they're redoing that. I'm taking this at the condition that it's new in box, and then it's telling us to read the manual, follow the instructions, or have your dealer install the Aboveboard 2 Plus. And then we have the anti-static marking on there. Reusable container, do not destroy. That label is loose. In fact, look, we can see the grains of whatever it is on there. I don't know if that just slipped into through a crack, or there's actually a cut in that cellophane otherwise, but that label is loose. I hope that there's not any. And so the container is anti-static. It's not in any sort of bag here. And it's got the adapter component side down. And with all the reflection of the light, that is what that looks like. Now, what is really interesting to me here is that there's not any dip switch or a little 8-pin socket. And I'll show you what I mean from the other adapter that looks exactly the same to this. And so this is identified as the Aboveboard 2 Plus, and the adapters, and I have a few of these otherwise. I've even gone through and I've modified some of the other ones that I had based on this. This is, and see, this one actually has the dip switch and this, and it's an 8-pin dip socket that's there. Whether for little jumpers that go across that, I believe, is how that's used. And that's, I believe to extend that dip switch. But we'll have to see, because once I get that in a system, because this adapter here that I've previously had, this actually identifies, it has a adapter ID of FEFE hex, and identifies just as and that's in an IBM reserved range. And so it's really odd with the Intel marking on it. It's a Intel adapter. I mean, they sold their version of it, and we'll have to see. This may have a different adapter ID on the one that was on the unit that was boxed. And I was really interested if it had the dip switch settings to show how to set the adapter for the different memory configurations. Now, these are 256 kilobyte SIMs in here. So this board and it masquerades as an IBM board of 0 to 2 megabytes. And these are the standard SIMs that you find in a lot of the Mul 50, the Mul 60. A lot of the early IBM adapters had these 256 kilobyte SIMs. They have even a presence detect for being a 30-pin SIM. So it'll be really interesting because the Aboveboard 2 Plus, as we saw on the label, that advertises that it can have 8 megabyte installed. If you go through and you put the 1 megabyte SIMs in there, and we'll have to see if they're referring to an IBM SIM, 30-pin SIM that's a little bit hard to find, or if that's going to be a little bit more of the industry standard sorts of SIM. And so it's going to be really interesting comparing that, and once you get into the manual. And since I'm going to scan the manual, I'll go through and I'll open up that sealed section. I was just looking in that area just to see if there was any wires that were put across those solder pads to set that more just as a kind of a factory configuration, rather than they don't have any adjustable dip switch or that socket there for that adapter. So that'll be interesting to see. I'll leave that behind on the bench. Let me see if I can get situated to start moving. Well, let's go through and let's open up the manual. And I mean, this could be part of a longer process or a later process that I could do to go through and actually install these in the system, or go through and run an adapter ID check. Oh boy. So I'm probably just going to have to tear this shrink wrap, which is fine. And we're not going to the point of putting that back in place. It's interesting, it does have that kind of that sand on the outside, but the inside the packet looks to be very clean. Recent news, we go through and we drop the 2 diskettes included. Okay. And it has some information about OS2. That's probably the last little slip that they put in there, just based on the most recent information that they have right as they sell the adapter. Get down here, this is the OS2 boot diskette for the Intel Aboveboard 2 Plus. So it'll be nice, and it says it supports EMS 4.0. That'll be nice to image that diskette, because I don't think that is out there otherwise. And then they say this is the option diskette for the Intel Aboveboard 2 Plus. And option diskette meaning as you run through the reference diskette, it prompts you for the adapter in whichever slot, this is when you have that adapter set up, to insert this diskette as the option diskette and copy over the files like the ADF that tell it how to set up the adapter. We have kind of a little bit of a promo Aboveboard guide to making good software better. And this, I think it looks like a link to their other products that are available out there, or what products that this helps with, this Aboveboard. And I've even heard the comment that there was a particular debugger software that Intel ran. And that's typically viewed as the in-circuit emulator, or ICE. And that I've heard the comment that the software had to have that, had to have an Intel Aboveboard in there for that debugging aspect. Installation guide helps you quickly put the Intel Aboveboard 2 Plus to work. And they've got a nice little Model 50 there, 50Z, probably a Model 50. And the little programs on the side. And this is a nice little manual. This is bound. This is a lot thicker than the other, manual I went through and scanned. Registration card. And the PCEO, and I've seen that that acronym is the I just recently read, and I'll bring up the page on this as well and talk about that at some point, of what that PCEO refers to. Intel Corporation PCEO Publications, and in Hillsboro, Oregon. Okay, the FCC compliance statement. 5-year limited warranty. I think we're past that period by the markings on the box. That had been maybe 1994, maybe, where that ran out. Software license. And this will all be scanned, and they identify for the IBM PS2 models 50, 50Z, and 60. And this being a 16-bit microchannel board. Contents, they go through all the installation. They've got things, they talk about the RAM disk and print buffers. Do they go into installation? Yeah, chapter 4 tells you how to add memory. Okay, and they do give a view of this. And these are still the plastic latches to the SIM sockets. So you want to be careful, in particular, taking the SIMs out of those. A lot of time, if I have SIMs in there, I leave them in place because it's a chore. And they identify here memory size. This will be interesting to have when I have this scanned, because it even has the different modules that were available. Memory module size. And they show the bank setup of it. Little diagrams on how to install SIMs, running the SoftSet program, and talk about the ADFs using SoftSet. Inserting the Aboveboard 2 Plus in your computer. And they give the layout of the Model 50. So they're going to go through all these nice diagrams. That's why this manual is so thick. And this is back in the day where they did some pretty involved manuals. Really nice to see this level of detail. There's the MUL 60. And the 50s and the 50Z are going to be almost identical in physical appearance. Yeah, lots of notes and steps. OS2 installation. Checking the amount of memory. Using RAM disk and talking about the situations when a RAM disk is good to have. Print buffer. And compatible video modes for the print buffer. Speeding up your computer. If your board doesn't work, a troubleshooting section. Multiple memory boards in one computer. Okay. And technical information. Even how does expanded memory work? They even have a little primer on some of the stuff. This, of course, this is before the web, before you could look up things. Mapping conventional memory, manually installing the software. So they talk about modifying the autoexec.bat. Okay. And they even have particular scenarios, it looks like. You're using an IBM MUL 50. And so very elaborate. And so yeah, and even a glossary at the end of it. Gives a little bit of, and your index. Telling you which page. But yeah, rather nice manual for all that. Now let me show where the best information is online about this adapter currently. And I'll provide a link for this. And even let's go through, do an interact. This content, as we see kind of the watermark there on the diagram, the nice blue tabs that he went through and put on it. But this is a diagram from William originally, and he went through and took it upon himself to go through and to document this adapter. He talks about the option files courtesy of Tim Knight, and Tim Knight has been passed away for a number of years now. I'll have to look up, and I would say it'd be along the lines of 10 to 12 years, maybe even longer. Great guy. We called him Colonial Tim on the news group. And there's some links here, and I'll even have to prod at some of these links later on, or I'll give the page anyway. Those links are probably going to be dead. This is actually a mirrored page. It needs to be collected up for the information for the diagram and the nomenclature, because it probably doesn't. I don't know if the original's still up at all. So here we see that PCEO stands for Intel's Personal Computing Enhancement Operation. The PCEO was the group responsible for the development and marketing of the Intel Aboveboard family of adapters. And then there's the warning about loading sims, to be careful with the plastic tabs. And that is more applicable towards the unloading the sim, to removing a sim out of the socket, because those plastic tabs aging and that plastic not or being a little bit more brittle now. And we even get a little bit of background to it. And again, they talk about the dip switches. So this is going to be really interesting when I go through to set up the adapter, because it just goes with this boxed version that I just opened, not having those dip switches. And it talks about even finding it advertised back in fall of 1988, and about an Intel Aboveboard 2. And so it supports a maximum of 2 megabyte of RAM, uses 256 kilobyte sims. So even kind of the older version of this adapter, perhaps, being at this 2 Plus, Intel Aboveboard 2 Plus, supposedly supports those 1 megabyte sims to get up to an 8 megabyte total, which is a big deal as far as Mul 50, 50Z, or Mul 60. And talks about the pricing for that 2 Plus being $445 USD with even zero memory, not even a single SIM. And very similar warranty was for 5 years. Now, let me go through, since I'm at the system, and I could probably even go through and bring up the built-in webcam here too. So I'm visible as I go through and talk. But so let's go through. I'm going to pause. I'm going to actually pull up the page at the Ardent tool. And it's understood that that needs work at the Ardent tool, and some of the separation. That'll be a kind of a lead-in. I'll go over some of the other adapters that I've got here just to show them off. But let me pause and bring up the page for the Ardent tool. Okay, and this is the page at the Ardent tool, and this is one page that goes through for everything otherwise. The Intel Aboveboard 2 Plus, as we have here, the Aboveboard MC, and the Aboveboard MC32. And I'm going to cover those as well, because that's kind of interesting. And we have a links to the ADFs. I can include this link, and with a little bit of my notes as I go through the other adapters. They talk about that option disk being required, but there's not any diagrams here. We have some of the there is the Intel Aboveboard MC installation guide, the scan that I did a few months back, or probably some months back now. And that was a similar booklet. Wasn't quite as good of shape, but I went through and scanned it, and I don't think it was quite as thick as that. But we'll go over the aspect of the Aboveboard MC and what I've learned since then. And a lot of this covers the aspect of the Aboveboard MC ROM. and that actually stores the memory configuration on the adapter. And that's for those higher end above boards. And I'll have to see where this comes out with the since the adapter I unboxed does not have any dip switches on it or that 8-pin socket. So let's get back to looking over those adapters and go through and try and get in a good position here with my microphone, a little bit of my notes. So we went through and talked about, this actually go through and it masquerades as an IBM board that's maximum of 2 megabyte, probably that one that was advertised in the Byte magazine that we saw the link for the article. Has the dip switch and that 8-pin socket in the upper right. And by everything I know, that this adapter only goes up to a maximum of 2 megabyte of RAM on 8 of those 256 KB SIMs. It's in there. Okay. Now this is another adapter, and it's also 16-bit microchannel, and I'm assuming this header, this 50-pin header, is for I/O. In other words, like a serial and parallel port. There's a little daughter card that could be attached to that. The back bracket has the screws, so you can actually remove that. I believe that daughter card went into a position that they had a different bracket, and they actually had the parallel and serial ports from that back bracket. You could get this on a 50 or 50C with only 3 available slots in there, and you're at just a daughter card that takes up another slot position. Kind of limits your system. Now this adapter, even despite it being labeled as Intel, let's see, comp side, where was I seeing, or I was just, okay. So I actually see it labeled assembly micro RAM board. Okay, in the revision. I had thought that I'd seen this previously identified as Intel. It's got jumpers up here. I was thinking that this was a comparable Intel model, and probably the 50-pin connector confused me. But I'm seeing in real time now, Copyright Tecmar Incorporated, and I know of others that have this card, and it does identify itself as a Tecmar. Doesn't have any ADF, despite looking very close to the Intel Aboveboard. And I'll show you the adapter that confused me since then. And I've got 2 of these here actually on my bench right now. These are fairly nice, and like I say, probably that 50-pin connection confused me, because I know on the Tecmar adapter it is for those I/O ports, the serial and parallel port, and I was thinking it's for the same thing. And actually, this is in a slightly different position. That the header is shrouded, so that may not be the same daughter card that I was getting this confused with. And I know that this is, this has the labeling for Intel up there in the upper left-hand corner. Even has a tab that says Intel on it. And again, the screws on the backside that you could remove that bracket for the possibility of that daughter card being there. Now, this is a 32-bit adapter. But it's also it's slotted for use in a 16-bit microchannel system. And the one version I have here, this is 1 megabyte SIMs that's loaded on this. So this is 8 megabyte of SIMs that are in this. Even the other one I have, these are 4 megabyte 30-pin SIMs. And so this can go through and have 32 megabyte of RAM on it that supports. And I've run this in a P70 with the planar memory and this adapter in place, having 40 megabyte of RAM on that system, running Windows 95, nice little orange plasma screen. And of course, the 32 megabytes, I mean, you're using this as a 32-bit adapter, just because a 16-bit system normally has 24-bit address of memory, meaning 16 megabytes maximum for the system, what's recognized as system memory. You do have boards that can go through and they can, the smart little controllers on them, you're able to set that up for a portion of EMS memory, and doesn't all fall into that expanded memory area to, on a system like that if you're limited by that 16 megabit address space of memory. But clearly in this case, this is 32-bit. In this configuration, I've got 32 megabyte, and it is identified there as Aboveboard MC, as we can see, just below the Intel. And that confused me because there's also that Intel Aboveboard MC32, and I thought, well, that's 32-bit. This would be the MC32, but no, this is the MC Aboveboard. And the power pack, like the power pack box unboxing I did before, that has a picture of this Aboveboard MC on the back, even talking about 16 bits, this going into 16-bit systems. So I don't have an example of the MC32, and I don't, in everything I've looked for online, I do not find that adapter out there. So it'll be interesting if somebody has a lead or ever is aware of that, or maybe even possibly was for the had insider knowledge working with Intel. I'll get this get myself back on the screen here, and I can go through and who knows, I'll have to get my this tripod situated as well. Got it bumping it around, but that's what I have for now. I mean, this has come to it's going to be a 40-minute video, maybe a little bit longer than I intended. I need to work on getting the timestamps and breaking it up so people can look at sections, not some big long video. And I do have some other videos queued up that I need to produce as well, but I thought this would be a nice little thing to unbox and look at the stuff that, assumably this is sealed back in 1989 by the dates on the boxes. So if you enjoyed this content, click on that like button, please. If you're subscribed to my channel, that's great. Recommend it to your friends that are not subscribed to it so we can get more subscribers on the channel. But that's all I have for now. This is IBM Museum. Thank you.